Thank you. So my role now is to take you back to the Science Museum arena and to explain why we thought that Science Museum should be part of this global project of the Human Brain Project. So when they started to work on the Human Brain Project, we approached them and we offered them to add another aspect to the project, and this was the aspect of combining Science Museum to the global things. And the reason we did it is because we believe that Science Museum are hub and lab, and this is what I'm going to speak very shortly, so we'll give you a kind of different perspective on Science Museum. Usually you go there as visitors. We would like to take you back to the content behind the scene and to show you why we believe that Science Museum are the good partners for this ambitious dissemination and engagement program. And I'm going to use the information from my Science Museum, but it's relevant to all Science Museum because we're really a very big family. So just, you can't really see very well, but this is the location if you don't know where we are. We are located in Givat Ram in Jerusalem, in the center of Givat Ram, just across the street from the Parliament, the Supreme Court, the government office. And as part of what we are now looking as a National Museum Mall, the Center for the Israeli Heritage, where you have the cultural heritage with the Israel Museum, the Bible Land Museum, and the new Antique Authority building, the literary heritage with the new National Library, and the science and nature heritage with our Science Museum and the new Nature Museum that will be joining us. And this is our building with some numbers, so just a kind of overview. So what we do usually is we have a mission, and our mission is very similar to the mission of many Science Museums. We have very big mission. We want to stimulate information. We want to be attractive, dynamic, always up to the date with the science that we promote. And this is why we saw that this kind of initiative can really fit to our agenda. We didn't need to look for new agenda. It was in our agenda, and this was for us as a Science Museum a real opportunity to do it. And the reason that we thought that it's so important is we all know that the informal time, and Shira will speak later on another aspect of the informal time that we have, are getting more and more of our time. This is really the informal learning environment are what really take most of the time of the lifespan from very early age to the end, and Science Museum can really fit into giving content and opportunities to use this informal learning environment. As Science Museum, usually we have three main objectives. We want very much to promote science education, we want to develop the culture of science, and we want to advance science among all communities. Diversity is the main issue now and the most important issue in our conversation. When we speak about education, it's very clear. We want to start from very early age because we believe that we need to do it. We need to have this kind of science-rich institution to provide venue for children to enjoy. We want very much to support as much as possible the science education in schools and different tools that we develop all over, and especially in our museum, that really help to do it. And we have what we look for the higher, for the junior high, how we can really promote those who choose to study science, but also those who really excel in what they do. And this is, I just took from the website of our network. This is the mission of the global network of science centers. That's what they believe they need to do. And they do need it because they really believe that we have a public trust, that we can change attitude, that we can work with schools in different way. This is from the European one. We look at the future, and what we can do is really advancing dialogue. So with this very, very prestigious, we need to see why its Science Museum are the place. And the reason that it's a place to do all of this is because we are a hub and a lab. So let me just pass you very quickly so then we can see the connections. So first of all, we are a hub for families. We are a hub for students and teachers. We are a hub of youth and adults. And you can see in these three pictures different kind of hubs. You can see the family, the grandparent coming with the children. You can't see very clear, but you should see if the projector was clear. a group of youth and Jewish and Arab high school students working together. This is a meeting place for them. Or you can see ultra-Orthodox kids really engaging with science, what they can't do in their own school, but they do much and much more in Science Museum today. It's also a hub for all communities. In this picture, you see on the same exhibits an Arab class and an ultra-Orthodox class, and sometimes they also engage. So this is a kind of opportunity for people to be engaged on the same time, on the same place, and sometimes together. This is really a kind of opportunity for us to be a hub. But it's also a hub for scientists and the public to meet. It's not at the university. It's not in the community center. It's a secure place. It's a trusted place. And that's why scientists really like to come and to do this kind of engagement. And public come and really ask a very different question when they are in our arena. When it's not at the university, but in a science museum, they feel more free, more secure, more trusted to ask a very difficult question and to develop those kind of discussions. Sometimes it's really hands-on. Sometimes it's a kind of small discussion. And sometimes it's a kind of more open. It's less an auditorium. We are not really promoting very much auditorium talk. We try as much as possible to have a round table discussion because that's what we believe as a science museum should be our role. But it's also a hub for other things. It's a hub for makers. We have one here. Makers are really the new people, the new ideas of people to do things by their hands, to do science by their hands, which become very, very interesting because we believe very much in learning by doing and learning with your hands and thinking with your hand and thinking science with your hand. And suddenly we can have a kind of hub for all these kind of makers that come from different arena and different field. Some of them are artists, some of them are scientists, some of them are engineers, and some of them are just very young people. You can see here, this is pictures from the last fair that we had 2 weeks ago. These are high school students as makers. This is a young engineer trying to develop new technology. These are the oldest maker that we have, Didi Vardi. And this is the atmosphere that we are making them as a hub to meet together, to exchange, and to use it. But it's also a lab. And it's a lab because we try to develop new tools, new ideas, new ways of communicating science. So as a science museum, we try to develop technology. These are technology that we patent in order to do and to demonstrate phenomena that are not easy to be realized in other ways. So science museum become kind of laboratories for demonstration, phenomena, and actions. It's also a lab because we are trying to collect and to connect art and science. And because it's a museum, it's a natural place for them to meet. So these are just two last examples that we did. So sometimes we do an exhibition, and in the same time we do something else. These are two exhibitions. Other Life was a kind of art exhibition dealing with how artists look at computer science in the future. Capture is an exhibition trying to understand what are the science of computer science. But before we do the Capture exhibition, we did the Other Life. So we wanted to approach this idea of what we want to say about computer science, not through the eyes of the scientist, but through the eyes of the artist. And this was a kind of intro exhibition towards a permanent exhibition that deals with the computer science principles. Transparent Light and Innovation Inc. was a kind of collaboration on the same time. So we did an exhibition about innovation in Israel, but on the same time we developed during the summer a workshop, a studio for design students to work all over the summer, and they developed their own ideas on one specific theme of light. But the public were able to engage with them, to see how they developed their own idea, and in the end, to see the exhibition they made out of it. So sometimes it's a kind of promo or a kind of introduction to an idea. Sometimes it's engagement between artists and scientists or designers and scientists on the same topic. So this is really a kind of lab that develops new tools and new ideas. But it's also a kind of lab for this Make Lab, what we are now trying to build. These are some examples of people operating. So before you saw at the hub, you saw the makers. Now you can see the public as makers, because this is also something we are trying to develop. We are trying to develop it informally in our museum. We also try to develop it formally for schools in a project that we are running with the EU funding called Engineer, to develop engineering as part of science curriculum for schools. So lab is really what we are also doing. And we also started to see what we can do on brain research and how can we promote brain research in our exhibition before the Human Brain Project. And we started with few exhibitions that we already done before. One was really focusing on the research that is done today in all universities in Israel to understand the different aspects of brain research and to try to show it. One was really to show some of the results of some of the visualization of the brain research because, as David said, it's so much visualized. So all these kind of ideas really, together with some program, gave us the idea that Science Museum can be a very good place as a hub and as a lab to develop the communication of the Human Brain Project to the general public. I can't show you anything yet because we don't know yet how we are going to do it. I just can share with you why we thought we can be a Science Museum community, a good leader, a good partner, a good friend to the Human Brain Project as a place that public will be able to engage with the researchers, public will be able to learn, public will be able to show and express their concerns, and a place to develop the discussion about the ethics aspect, the social aspect, because in the end, it's not a question of scientists, it's a question of us as a society, what we do want out of our research as human beings, as society, as a community. So this is the whole idea of what we do. In some museums, we even have laboratories inside museums. Those are two pictures from two different museums, the one from Boston Museum that have a living lab in cognition, and the one from the Deutsches Museum in München that have a living lab on nanotechnology. So maybe we also would love to see if we can have real research done in Science Museum engaging with the public. So this is also a kind of idea we might have. And I just have to end with Peter Hillman. Professor Peter Hillman was our founder. He died exactly a year ago. And he was a neurobiology scientist. He, together with two colleagues, established the neurobiology department at the Hebrew University in the end of the 60s that turned to what we now know as the Safra Center for Brain Research. And Peter Hillman created in the beginning of the 80s our Science Museum, and he died just exactly a year ago, so I can't really finish our exhibition without expressing my really very, very warm feeling that we all have to Peter. Peter was the one that really introduced the brain into our museum, and that's why we were engaged with the center at the Hebrew University, but also with other museums on brain research for many, many years. So we all remember Peter. Thank you.